All right. Hey, ladies, what a wonderful start to this session. Hey, the one seminar that I love to share, especially with my women, is Find Fabulous and Financially Free. A man is not a plan. Okay, so let me explain that. I was telling a story of how, my first venture into understanding money and, what I consider my financial trauma was having to ask for money from my father. And so I realized that, hey, not saying he wouldn't or couldn't. At the time, he just didn't give it to me because he didn't have it. So I've always set the tone for myself that, hey, if I needed anything, I would be the first person I could come to is myself to be able to facilitate that money that I need. So when I came up with this seminar, I was thinking about that experience for myself that, hey, a man is not a plan. We want to be, the designers of our own lives and be able to put some things in place. But at the same time, understanding the rules of the game. And so our seminar today is The Future is Female. Hey, fine, becoming fabulous, and totally financially free. So as I get started, I want you guys to take notes, plenty of notes. I'll have my contact information at the end, so you can definitely follow up with me. And we're also making sure that all the participants here have an opportunity to sit with me for a 30-minute session, complimentary, because I believe that I can't help you until I see where you are. Okay. No, no opportunity for me to, I call myself always being transparent, of course, for myself, but hey, there's, no judgment on my end. I've been where most of you and most people want to be and have been. And so we're going to grow together. Okay. So as I start, again, take notes, put down your questions at some point. If you want to call me to get those questions answered, hey, I'm here for you. And I hope this will be a great avenue into understanding and putting the pieces together of some financial concepts. So again, I am Racine Rikard. I am a personal financial coach. And so I sit with women of color, women and their families, business entrepreneurs, and I show them how to have fun with finance, because it does not have to be, you don't need a PhD, so to speak, in finance. We can have a public high school diploma. Yes, that works. But you do not need to have an advanced degree to understand some simple rules and context. And so at the end of this session, you guys may start out with what I consider high school diploma in finance. But by the time I finish this evening, you all are going to definitely have, a doctorate in finance. I promise. And you wouldn't have had to pay all that money to go back to school. Okay. So I'm going to keep it really simple. And so this joy that you see on the screen of some ladies, that's what I want you to feel after we finish up. Deal? All right, let's get started. Hey, when we think about finances, think about yourself. Do you fit into any of these categories? Your eyes are bigger than your pocket or your pocketbook. You have no emergency fund and something happens, it sets you back. We all know about those, fridge breaks down, the car breaks down. Our girlfriend want us to take that last minute trip because see, sometimes that's an emergency. Or they want to go to the club and hang out or go to brunch. Sometimes that's an emergency. I'm speaking for myself every now and then. You have habits, more habits, and then some greater habits. And you make good money, but you have no money left at the end of your month. I've been there. I have been there. I understand it. Me personally, I used to go and take my credit cards to use them as a supplement to my income. And lastly, you are the family's bank and savings. Okay. You give too much away or too much money to your family members. You are the go-to person, whether you want to be or not. You are the go-to person of your family. And normally when they come to you, they literally are having you not alone, but they want you to give it to them in most cases. So yeah, I always say if you're going to give somebody or lend somebody money, make sure you have the expectations that you're not going to get it back, otherwise do not give it away yourself. And so all of these things, you may be in one of these categories, but that's cool. We got some answers today for some of the things to, help out for you. And then we talk about, hey, why women tend to be in situations. We know why women know the rules to the money game or why they don't know them, or should know them. We tend to cook, clean, take care of our kids. We raise our husbands, our significant others. We're caretaker for our parents, which is really significant now in these days and times presently. I am one of those that is the caretaker and the go-to for my father. We tend to retire broke, but I'm gonna start changing the road broke to financially independent. We serve as the counselor, the doctor, the advisor. Outside of our normal roles, we're the everything to everybody. So as a result, I realized for myself, nobody's teaching us the money game and nobody understands the rules of the money game. You can't play the game unless you know the rules. And so here I'm going to make sure I give you at least the foundational rules that will help you move and navigate through so you can make some great changes in your household. Now, we know that there's generational brokenness and we talk about financial trauma. Recently, I was having a conversation with some good friends and we talk about physical trauma, we talk about mental trauma, but we don't talk about the financial trauma. A lot of the things that we do and experience and some of the cycles that we are in, it really has a foundation. And so, of course, there's too much to go into today, but hey, just think about where you are now financially and some of the things that have changed your dynamics when we're talking about money and finance, okay? Think about some habits we were taught as kids. I talked about how my first experience with money was not having my father give me an additional amount of money so that I could go on a trip. And I end up leaving on that trip without asking for that money again. And I end up really getting a bad experience as I went through on that trip and not having any money. And when you're out of town as a 8 to 10 year old and you're in an environment that you're not familiar with, that to me was my trauma. Think about also what instructions were you given about money? Literally, we went to, elementary school, middle school, high school, and only thing that I remember is home ec. And in home ec, we did not talk about money. I think we did learn how to balance a checkbook, just maybe one time, okay? And then did people, purchase items on credit? As I navigated to my career, I remember I got paid once a month. And so by the time the end of the month rolled around, I had no money. So what did I do? I started using credit cards to balance out that money. And so we also talk about women are some of the world's biggest spenders, whether it's the new Louboutins, whether it's the new Brahmin bag, whether it's just really hanging out on the weekends, every weekend. We are the biggest spenders. And you all think about some of those reasons why we are. We can really give people our money, but saving it and putting it away for future so that we can really do the things we want to do and not the things we have to do. All right. So as we face unique challenges, think about a couple of things. Our earning power. All right. How much money will make so much of a unique difference for us, and we are in different careers now. And unfortunately, women are paid nickels, to the dollars that most men are going to receive. And we're smart, probably as smart as they are, but we are paid less. And then we're talking about career moves. Sometimes we change careers, change jobs, etc. Sometimes we're in positions, we're raising families and maybe can't, complete educational things, our degrees, etc. But, outside of that, the things we want to do and move forward, we have those opportunities. It's just making sure that we're getting them so we can make the money we need to live and have a lifestyle and or a life balance, as they say. And then we talk about life expectancy. We're going to talk about that in a second. You know, that women tend to live longer than men. And lastly, more importantly, what shoes we wear or need to wear with an outfit. Okay. So that's really the most unique one out of all four. All right. So we talked about life expectancy, and women can expect to live about 16 years more after the age of 65. But then the men in our lives can expect to live about 11 years after the same 65 years old. So with that said, we're living longer. And as we live longer, that means we need more income based on our life expectancy. Okay. So the statistics are already there. They're already in place. So the reasons we definitely must change. Yeah, we live longer than men. And at some point, we're going to be by ourselves, hopefully, you know, not too much sooner. And knowing that we're going to live longer, we got to make better decisions about our money. So we have something called a financial independence number, and I'm going to call it the FIN number for right now. That number tells me how much do you need to have saved based on when you want to retire and to have that amount of money available to you so you can have the same lifestyle that you have now, okay, later on. If you're 30 years of age or older and you aren't fully funding your Roth IRA, chances are you're going to retire dead broke. If in fact you are able to retire, that's significant. The big word if. There's still some 75-year-old, 80-year-old people working, not because they just want to, but because they have to. And so as a result, a disproportionate amount of women in poverty retire without money. So the goal is not to have you in that position. And all it is just tweaking and making some decisions now so that you'll have some repercussions later that would be a benefit to you. A growing voice. Let's talk about a few statistics. And I don't want to bore you with some, but I think it's important for us to hear, hey, what is actually going on around us. But 44% of women in the US report themselves as a primary breadwinner in their household. 31% of the women do not have enough disposable income so they can do the things they want. So that is keeping them from moving forward, especially toward their financial goals. And then we have millennial women in the US, 53% say they have started saving retirement compared to 71% of millennial women, okay? Maybe that retirement, or I'm sorry, when I say 71%, it should be, instead of millennial women, it should be baby boomers, okay? So we've got to look at the numbers wherever you are, whether you're a millennial, baby boomer, Generation X, Z, or Y, the goal is we got to do some better things financially. So what does freedom mean to you? I always ask this question because we talk about, you know, and I think sometimes it's a cliche when we talk about becoming financially independent. To me, that's a blank phrase. And I say it as a blank phrase because financial independence is truly different for everybody, all right? Some of you may say, I want to be financially free so I can travel the world without having to worry about money. I want to be able to buy the things that are important to me, whether it's a new car or a new house. Some people say being financially free means I can spend time with my family, my friends, and that's where I get my joy. But we can do it and be able to spend the time where we can spend the money and not worry about it. Some of you may say, I want to be, you know, a philanthropist. I want to be able to donate to charities that I can really make a difference. And there are those who say, hey, I want my life to be my own. I don't want to do nothing. I want to just concentrate on the hobbies that are important to me. Whether it is, again, some hobbies are traveling. Some hobbies are that you may collect cars, whatever that is, your freedom and the definition, whatever it is, it always has to have a game plan so that, hey, you can achieve it. And I always not have people put their game plan or their goals into a box. I want them to increase that box and widen it, and there's some things we can do to make sure that we can increase it. Also, in the business world, the playing field isn't always level, unfortunately. I remember working in corporate, and I haven't worked in corporate since 1994. But I realized that, hey, that glass ceiling was really, blocking me from moving me where I wanted to go. We're talented, we're educated, we're energetic, just as well as men are, but often fewer opportunities to upgrade and move forward financially and, in our careers. Women in the workplace, we tend to stay on those jobs a typical tenure of 4.5 years. Part of that may be because we're leaving the job to care for kids. Sometimes we're just leaving jobs because they're not where we want them to be. Lifestyle balance, or what we call work-life balance. Most pension plans, however, only vest or you become truly invested into that plan after 5 years. So if we're not working there for that time frame, we're losing out. So we're leaving retirement dollars on the table every time we leave a job or change jobs. And on average, we take about 12 years off to take care of family. And I am seeing more of the women that I'm working with that are having elderly parents that they have to actually take care of as well. So compared with less than 2 years for men, who typically you don't see them taking the time off to go take for, we call them home dads, I believe. They may not necessarily do that as much. As changing, the dynamics are changing. But women are taking care of their kids, they're taking care of their parents, and I can attest to that for sure. As I'm starting, I want to help you guys build your financial house. The first part of building your financial house is making sure you have what we call life insurance and income protection. And a lot of times we don't like to talk about that, but it is important when we're talking about building our financial house. So I have a test that I give everybody, and I ask a couple of questions. If you died tomorrow, would your church have to take up a collection? If you didn't know anything about our community, you know that this is extremely prevalent. In fact, most churches, because of this, have actually depleted their resources because they've been having to give it to, the people in community because they didn't have the life insurance. They didn't have a financial covering to make sure that they move forward. So they're taking care of those families. If you died tomorrow, would your family have to pass the bucket or start a GoFundMe account? Of course, you've seen a number of those on Facebook, etc. And unfortunately, if most of you didn't know, GoFundMe was not originally set up for that. It was really started more for investment and saving money or raising money for investments, for businesses, okay? And then third question, how long would your insurance cover your current income for your family if you died? You typically get small policies, 10 or 25 or 50. And the excuse is, I just want enough to bury me by. But most people are not thinking about the kids that are going to be left behind, because before you left and before God took you home so early, you were making $50,000, $75,000 a year, and your family used that income to take care of you. So if you're gone, $10,000 is not going to take care of that 5-year-old or that 15-year-old, etc. And then last question, do you have at least $250,000 minimum in a life policy outside of your job? We're not even talking about, for those who are entrepreneurs, having a life policy in place. We call them, key man policies. That is another separate opportunity for you or entrepreneurs to make sure that that's in place, because not only for your personal family having a policy, but for those who are entrepreneurs, you need something in place so that if you don't show up to your business, the business can transition as if you were there. I've had that happen so much for a number of clients who are entrepreneurs that left here, early from life. And so their business didn't have a transition in place, or they transitioned effectively because they had that key man policy in place. So this is what I call Jamal and Sarah and their daughter, Jemiah. And so each of them here, this is the actual client, but I've did this for privacy, changed, their names. And so both of them bring home $3,500 a month. That's about $7,000. That money is taking care of mortgage, cars, insurance premiums, credit cards, utilities, groceries, and more importantly, childcare. But unfortunately, if Jamal doesn't come home, hey, those bills, all of those things are still in play. You still got to pay the mortgage. You still got to pay for the car note. You got to pay the credit cards, utilities, and more important, childcare and groceries, okay? So with that said, we want to make sure that even if the breadwinners are not there, you can transition and move forward as if they both are there, okay? If this happened to your family, what will your family lose? That's an important question. We aren't thinking about that. And so as we move forward, when I'm sitting with clients, I am doing what I call the dime piece theory, okay? And it just tells how much should you have in life coverage. And so we have never been taught to calculate exactly how much coverage we should have in place outside of your respective jobs, okay? So we have something called the DIME, and the acronym DIME. The D stands for debt. So if there's husband and wife, in this example, they have $50,000 of coverage on the husband, $50,000 annual salary, the husband makes a year, and the wife makes $40,000 annual salary. So when we calculate their coverage, we start with the debt. They had $25,000 of debt. So I made sure that, hey, I put that as both of them as a start to calculate the coverage. So in this column, I'm putting the debt respectively because both of them got to pay each other's debt off if something happens. The I in DIME stands for income. And what I do is take 10 times their salary to calculate how much should be enough to take care of. If anything happens, their annual salary will come into them for at least 10 years, okay? So husband has $500,000 based on his salary, and the wife has $400,000, okay? So far, so good. The M in DIME stands for mortgage balance. So in this case, their mortgage balance is $100,000. So I've added that in the total because hey, it would be great if something should happen to either one of them, they can pay the mortgage off and the surviving spouse will still have a roof over their heads. Make sense? And then E stands for education. So typically for going to a private university, it's really about $137,000 real-time number for a 4-year degree, okay? And then if you're going to send them to a public school, you can expect 50 to 80,000. So I use 80,000 here. So that will take care of room and board for 4 years. Okay. And a little extra money for incidentals. So adding that up, you see that the total that's necessary, keeping the numbers simple, the husband need 705,000, really almost $1 million in coverage. And then the wife in and of itself, she needs at least 605,000. This is actual numbers for that particular client. So when I sit down with someone, I'm actually doing this calculation for you, and I give you 3 options to actually make sure you get the coverage that you need. And I typically do a level term policy so that we can cover everything and make sure that you have enough face amount so that, hey, the family doesn't have to worry about a thing, okay? So far, so good. So far, so good. So your plan for tomorrow, because we don't know what's going to happen. I make sure that, hey, you put a plan in place in case you leave here too soon, but I'm also showing you how to save later in case you live too long. But either way, you should have a game plan and we have something in place and discuss it. While nothing can replace a spouse, that term policy will protect you. Right? And as a leaving thought on this section, a wise woman leaves an inheritance for her children's children. Of course, we know Proverbs 13:22. Next level of building our financial house is making sure we have our estate plan in place. That's our wills and legal protection. So, thought questions. If you died today, who will get your personal possessions? Secondly, who will your family be fighting over for your money and possessions? And I know some people say, Racine, did you really have to add that question in there? But I promise you, I've seen a number of funerals and the things that are going on, and it's just unfortunate. You say it'll never happen. I've seen some things that I thought would never happen, you know? So part of this will and testament is to help make sure that there are instructions. And then where would your children go? Most people say, well, it'll automatically go to my husband or automatically go to my wife or automatically go to my mom. That ain't necessarily also the rule and written in stone. Can you all see my face? Okay. Would your loved ones, last question, know what to do next? That's the most important question. I can't tell you and stress to you the deer in headlight moment that happens when the breadwinners in a family leave here. I mean, it is not only traumatic in and of itself, the grief, you can't even begin to think when you're going through that. And I'm sure some ladies out there can relate to what I'm saying, you know, that you've experienced it personally, whether it's a parent or a spouse. It is truly a devastating, a situation when you're in it, and you can't really be thinking about a whole lot. So that's why, having someone like myself as a financial advisor actually helps you transition until you can really make decisions later. Okay? So when we talk about estate plan, it's some simple terminology. You can become what we call intestate. You don't have anything at all. Maybe some people say, well, I don't have any assets. If you got a car, you got assets. There's the power of attorney. There's the financial and the medical powers of attorney. Who's going to make financial decisions for you if you're incapacitated, you're in the hospital, or who's going to make medical decisions about, your life, taking you off life support, etc. If you have jointly held assets, what happens then? Contracts, living trusts, and of course, the overall instructional pages. I call it the last love letter that you'll ever leave. That's your last will and testament again. As we building our financial house, we're coming to the next level. And after the wills and debt legal protection, there's the debt management part of it. Now, I know some of you all say, I don't have any debt, but for those who do, just blink your eyes a couple of times, okay? I'll know who you are, right? So we have the causes of debt. And so I look at that, and there's so many myriad reasons for it, but just some of the simple ones is failure to exercise self-control. Now, I am one of those people when I go into Walmart, and I love going into Walmart, but when I go into Walmart, I make a beeline to the clearance section. I mean, I may not need a thing, but I am going to the clearance section at Walmart. And when I go, I just know there's something on that shelf that I gotta have for later. So I end up becoming a hoarder. Okay, that's my story about self-control. Okay, I'm sure some of y'all have that, going to dealers, going to Macy's, whatever the story is, I understand. Okay, low self-esteem. You'd be surprised. A lot of times we get into debt because we're going through, we call shopping therapy, retail therapy. And so a lot of times when we're having some bad situation come, we'll go shop and use our credit cards as a way of relieving whatever that stress item is. We're overpaying for basic items. I know we typically charge going to the grocery store. I've heard some people say, hey, I'm getting points for it, whatever. But when you're doing that and not paying it off in 30 days, that interest adds up. And those eggs truly become expensive, outside of the cost going up and inflation. We're desiring to keep up with the Joneses, and I can be transparent here and I can say I've been there. I've had where I've seen my girlfriends got the best, bag, etc. And I want to have the same bag. So I end up going out and getting that bag, my own version of it. And so we end up doing some crazy things just so we can be popular, okay, or be seen. And then output is more than your input. Now, we know that, hey, we're not necessarily making the money we want to make. We're just trying to pay Peter to pay Paul, okay? And so as a result, we're calling that caught in the credit card trap because we are using it to make up for the income we don't have, all right? So that means Amex, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover becomes our best friend. So I've set what we can become and set up a budget, okay? I don't really like the word budget. I'll call it, planning, okay? And planning for 30 days. And so the average plan of your income, 50% should be of living essentials. That's the rent, transportation, insurance, food, and utilities. The other 20% should be financial goals. They should be also the debt reduction, savings, and investments. And 30% should be flexible spending. These are things that you just want to buy, you don't necessarily need them. Now I'm going to go back for a minute. Of that total amount, when we're talking about, the flexible and spending at 50, make sure you allocate 10% for charity, or tithing and giving at some point. I think that's a great foundation for your plans. All right. Remember, we wanted to be philanthropists at some point in our lives or in our financial game plan. One of the ways that I'm helping families get rid of debt is doing debt stacking. So this is an example. We have them here. They have a number of credit cards and a mortgage and spending $2,700 a month. Well, with debt stacking, you just start with one bill at a time and pay them off. Again, this is just one opportunity to become debt-free. So once I pay off that first bill, I am now going here to the second bill and I'm going to pay it off as well. So that money I will put toward the second bill, the credit card number 2. And as I pay it off, I'm doing the same thing. Sorry about that. So as I'm paying it off, I'm going straight to the next bill and I'm going to literally just pay it off. Okay. And so forth and so on. So after I pay off that last credit card 1, that money that I have left over, I'm putting it toward the mortgage. And when I finish paying that last bill off, including the mortgage, in this example, I've paid the credit card on off. If I didn't do it, it'll be 23 years to pay it off if I didn't do the debt stacking. And I paid close to $214,000 a month in interest. Or I'm sorry, $214,000 in interest overall. But doing this debt stacking, instead, I've paid it off in 9 years or 14 years sooner. And I've saved over $130,000 in interest. So the goal is to make your money work smarter, not harder, okay? And so most people say, hey, I'll never be able to save because I got so much debt. Well, this is the answer. So once all the debt is paid off, I'll put that $2,700 into a mutual fund averaging about 9%. And by the time you're 67, that's $2.4 million saved. So I joke with some people and I tell people, you remember the show where you either married, you ate worms and you get $1 million, or you married, some crazy person, they'll pay you $1 million. Well, I won't have you do all that. We'll just start here with the debt stacking and some other things I'm gonna show you. And as we're building that financial house, we've gone over the life coverage as your foundation. We talked about your estate plan. We talked about you eliminating your debt. But now let's talk about saving or investing. There is a difference. So investment tests. Remember, I'm always giving you tests of understanding. Do you regularly save in an emergency fund? That's the first question. An emergency fund is what you have put aside for a year or less of things that come up, whether it's buying a car, whether it's making sure the fridge breaks, okay? A lot of times I always tell you to have at least 6 to 8 months of your salary in place, okay? Second, do you pay yourself before you pay others and setting aside dollars for the future, all right? Do you have a retirement plan outside of your jobs? We call it, your long-term savings outside of your emergency funds. And do you have an investment plan for accomplishing your goals and dreams? For an example, when my husband and I got married, we had set aside money so that we didn't have to, build a credit card or debt to get, be in debt before our marriage. So we saved up money, and I actually even bartered for a number of things for my wedding. So with that said, we end up spending less than $5,000 for our wedding. And it was a beautiful ceremony, including the food. Isn't that amazing? It's unheard of. And when I hear people spending 20 or 30,000, I'm like, okay, cool, you do you, but I want to make sure I have money, so that I can live after the honeymoon. Okay. We call it the money moon. Okay. So as we start thinking about investing, we talk about the 3 accounts that you need. And these are the 3 complete savings game plans for you. The first one is that emergency fund. That's having an account at least a year or less in place, okay, for incidentals. And then we have short-term savings. You may be saving for a home in 2 to 3 years. That's short-term, 2 to 3 years where you'll need the money. And then we have our wealth building or long-term savings. We call it, again, our wealth building. That's 5 years or longer. And so as I talk about investing, I'm going to share with you a little known banking rule. And I learned this rule in college for an accounting exam because my background is accounting before I became an added financial advising. But it says, if I take the interest rates of the money that you'll be earning and divide it into 72, I can tell you how quickly your $1 will double to $2. So in this example, I'm giving you $10,000. Isn't that cool? Whether I gave you 10, whether I gave you $1, or whether I gave you 100, it doesn't make a difference. It is the same principle. So in this example, for 3%, 72 divided by 3 is 24 years your money will double. So our average life expectancy is 48 plus years, right? Hopefully, God willing. So in this example, your money only doubled twice under 3%. And that's typically the banks or less. And 6% is typically money market accounts here or life insurance policies or credit unions. Now, 72 divided by 6 is now every 12 years, your money will double, okay? And so in this case, it has doubled 5 times over the same 48 years. And then most importantly, we talk about the 12% column, which is what we call mutual funds or, professionally investments. And so they average anywhere from 8 to 12% return. So 72 divided by 12 is now 6% that our money will double, or 6 years our money will double. So every 6 years in this example is doubled almost 10 times. So all that I'm sharing with most of potential clients is, let me show you how to move from the 3%, which is where the banks typically have, and move you over to professionally managed savings accounts or mutual funds on this 12% rate side. So far, so good. Again, this is a rule developed by Albert Einstein, who basically was the smartest man in the world, right? I call him the man with the original afro, right? So I learned again this rule for a test in college, but never understood how the practical part of it, etc. Okay. So lastly, we're getting toward the end, and we're literally talking about the cap. And we talked about, hey, understand extra income. And most of you all are entrepreneurs, and you're here really understanding how to make some more money and putting some money aside so you can do all the things that we talked about here. And so we're great entrepreneurs. We know corporate America has failed us, high pressure to perform. Hey, of course, unequal pay, the need to have unlimited income so we can have, more money at the end of our month, etc., than the reverse. We definitely want to have a work-life balance with our kids and family, etc. Okay. So as your next step with the information that I share with you, follow up with an advisor. If not myself, then someone else to help gather your documents. And I'll provide a checklist of some things that I need to see where you are so that I know how to give you a game plan for the A to the B. Schedule that one-on-one with me in the next 24 to 48 hours because, hey, the information I shared is still fresh in your mind. As I had told you or asked you earlier, write down questions and thoughts as you go. So I'm sure those are great questions and great commentary. We'll do a financial game plan to look at where you are for your life insurance needs, also that FIN number, financial independence number, and maybe give you a plan for debt. But the overall thing that I want to do is make sure you have a sense of accomplishment to be able to move you toward A to B, where B is going to be brave, bold, and beautiful women of financially set and sound. So I hope this is helpful to you. Here's my contact information. I know they'll be sharing that with you throughout the sessions, the next 2 days, etc. And so for listening out for you guys, I look forward to seeing you, in the future, and have a wonderful and gracious day. See you soon.
Racine, you so dope, girl. You so dope.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You feel like cuz, like the whole talk, you were snatching our edges every step of the way, but you felt like cuz. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, you have tons of questions, so I
Okay.
am going to show them on the stage one by one. And ladies, as a reminder, if you hit the hand button at the bottom of the screen, you can raise your hand and we can bring you on stage to ask Racine the questions live. Okay. And then after the session, we're gonna see who's at the top of the leaderboard. So I would recommend some folks raise their hands to get some points in there. Okay, Racine. So this question is coming from Gwendolyn, and she asks, can a Roth IRA be structured in a manner where it is not tied to the market?
It can. I always like to tell everybody you want to maximize your money, better than, what the bank is doing. Because remember, there's something called inflation. So a lot of times I know when people say they're not wanting to be tied to the market, is because they're scared of potential fluctuations. That's one reason why, just like you go to a doctor rather than go to Google to get your medical information, we're going to tailor something that's consistent for you. I'm not going to get you into an investment or anything that's going to be, fly by night. So we're going to choose what's comfortable based on your risk. We call it risk tolerance. Or, hey, if you're driving down, if you're in Atlanta, if you've been down I-20, do you want to be in the median, middle, HOV, fastly on the HOV? Everybody can't be in the HOV, but that doesn't mean you always have to stay in the median. You can meet in the middle. I hope that helps. But yes, definitely can. But we want to try to maximize better than inflation so you can get ahead. Retirement is a Roth is for retirement for long term.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder to us that we don't have to be the expert, right? Like you said, like work with an advisor like yourself, and you can structure it how we need it to be. So good. And I'm gonna bring a person to the stage for you, Racine.
Okay.
Crystal, the mic
Okay.
is yours.
Hey, Crystal.
Hi there. So the
Beautiful.
question is around like calculating like how much life insurance.
Mhm.
And when I started looking at, I'm like, well, what do I do about salary? So in this
So,
situation, even though my business is not, I don't have a regular rate right for my year, and I'm currently not working. And so even though that might change, at what point, or at least where do I sit in that space to like decide like what value to use?
gotcha. I love that question from entrepreneurs. Oh, I love this one. Two ways I'm gonna answer this. Okay, I understand for most entrepreneurs your income fluctuates. I would take your average income. Literally, what is your average that makes your household move forward? That's one. And then also add what keeps your business going afloat. Also, okay. And so that would be your average annual income. If you have kids, how you have kids, let's say you have a 2-year old, okay? That means your child will be what, 16 years before they're needing to be grown and gone. So I would at least do 16 times your salary. At the least do 10 times your salary. For you, Crystal, that means I have enough to manage my business for potentially a year, pay my personal expenses if I don't show up, and my kids are going to be okay. And just like I did that dime, you still can do the dime with your self-employment income, you know, and at the minimum, do 250 for you.
Mm-hmm.
At the minimum. That's a small amount, but that's a start.
Got it.
That's a start.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Crystal.
you.
Hmm.
Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to show one more question on the stage before I bring another person up, Racine. So
Okay.
this question is from Yvonne, and she asks, how does setting up a trust fit into the picture?
Okay. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm kind of giving you some real world experience. Everybody does not need to set up a trust. Okay. Let's keep that in mind, because what happens is we don't necessarily have enough assets to do just that. So I work with a number of estate planners because everybody's plan is sort of custom. And I know that may not really truly answer your question in turn, but having a trust means, hey, you got quite a bit of assets, transitioning, not only living, but in your passing, if you have a number of assets, you got young kids, you got a generational transfer that you need. Maybe yes, a trust will be be adequate. But for some people, even like myself, we have multiple businesses, me and my husband. We don't have kids. And the lawyer said, hey, Racine, you guys don't need a trust presently, but we'll structure your will, your love letter, so that, hey, you can transition your families and your assets and your business. One day we
That's
will have trust, though. Knock on wood.
Yes, you will. And
Mhm.
Yvonne added a piece to this. She said should have been specific in saying living trust.
Same answer. Same answer. Some people mistake living trust with the living will. Okay. The living trust is still while you're actually living, they have a trust set up so that, hey, it's still working as if you were, you still have assets that are still functional, etc. And they do that again so that, hey, you can protect it from taxes, gift taxes, etc. And that's mostly where most of the living trusts come into play. But they still, again, you have to make sure that for you, if that's really what you need.
Beautiful. Thank you, Racine. And China,
Mhm.
I'm bringing you to the stage. The mic is yours.
Hi.
Hey,
Sorry
Miss
about all the
Chang.
noise in the background.
You're good. You're good.
So my question is about husband and wives, right? So if they have a separate advisor, how does that work with, I guess, merging or getting one advisor if the husband might have invested time and money with a different advisor? How does that work?
I have that happen quite a bit more than you know.
Okay.
One of the things I always tell people, I'm gonna answer your question two ways. When you all were married, you became one. Okay. So one of the things I ask you, what is it your ultimate goal as one? Also, I ask you, find maybe his advisor, he feels really comfortable and not built a relationship with yours and vice versa. So y'all may have to come to a meeting of the minds. What is it your advisor is giving that mine can't, and vice versa? Okay. At the worst case scenario, I don't suggest going to find somebody on the outside of those two. Maybe to compare, because I tell people I don't know everything, but my clients do stay with me because they built a great relationship with me. And not to toot my own horn and be cocky, but I've won over some husbands in this example that you're saying. I've won over some husbands. I've won over some women's, some women who came, their husbands came to me way before they got married, and the wife is trying to figure me out. Y'all understand, okay? And they're like, Racine, she cool, she all right. So, I have to be on my lane and say, this is what I can offer you, whether you decide to stay with me or not. And you will lose, they will lose, and I may lose, but at least I'm going to try. But try to find a balance and see what you guys, what one or the other is missing, etc. In my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question, China. Awesome question. And then I'm going to pivot over back to the Q&A box, Racine. This one is from Christina, and she says, Miss Racine, everything you spoke is truth. What is the best way to approach your loved ones about this important conversation, especially if you're unmarried but a parent?
I'm assuming you're first talking about your kids. And if so, great. If you're talking about your parents, maybe a mother or father that's left, one of the things, it's odd that somebody, as I just had this question asked. Sometimes, like, we had a family function on Sunday, Father's Day. And one of the things we sat down, if I had to go to each individual and pull them as a subgroup of the event, and I just started a conversation, Sometimes we think, well, that's so private, I don't want to get in there. No, okay. If you have to have them come over for wings and Kool-Aid, y'all sit down and y'all have this talk, because it's better to have the talk now. It's uncomfortable. If you don't have it now, afterwards, it's too late. And it's not going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda. I've been in those situations where they said, we thought we were going to talk about it later. Oh, we put it off because they didn't want to talk about it now. It's so many in our community, that whatever that is, we got to get rid of it. I know that's going to be part of that financial trauma thing, and we talk about everything else. We can talk about the Little Mermaid. We can talk about what Denzel did. What somebody talked about Idris earlier. We can talk about all of that. But honey, baby, your money is the conversation of choice as a start. Because that woulda, shoulda, coulda, that's the worst conversation you want to have after the fact. Been there, done that. I hope that I'm talking from my heart. I'm talking from my heart.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so the last question, Racine, thank you for being so gracious in your answers as well. This one is coming from Yvonne, and she asks, in debt stacking, do you start with the highest card balance or the lowest card balance?
Start with the credit card that has the highest interest rate. And more often than not, that is the one with the highest balance, typically. To start with the one with the highest credit balance, credit card rate. Definitely.
That's good. All right, Racine. So you have fed us, you have poured into us, you have freebies for us. Y'all check the lobby, the reception area. There's a link to the freebies. Y'all can grab that. It's inside of the app as well. The freebies, you can grab that. But take this and definitely cleave to Racine. She's super dope. Where would you recommend folks find you, Racine?
You can definitely find me Instagram at Racine_Rikard. Website is www.racinerikard.com. We're revamping the site, so just bear with us. I am on LinkedIn. The Rikard Dream Team also is on Facebook as well. So you'll definitely see it in my profile. Love to have you. You can Google me. I just Google myself, you guys.
Two.
I know we were talking about AI earlier, but you can Google me too. Okay.
All right. Well, you are super dope in the way that you take some of the most complex things for anybody in the world and make it so palatable for us and use examples that we understand is brilliant. So thank you so much for pouring the way that you did today. And y'all, she is back actually on day 5 with a panel discussion on beating the recession, and she's combined with some other financial gurus too. So keep it locked for that. Thank you so much, Racine.
All right, appreciate y'all.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So we done. That's day 2. Okay. We have absorbed a lot on purpose, okay, because the goal of this is strategy. Okay, we do a whole lot that feels good, and that's important, right? Anybody that's been in the community, December, all day, every day, it is the feel good stuff. But in the summertime, while we still have half the year left, we definitely get some technical chops in so that y'all are cold in the game. Okay. That is it for day 2. We have 3 days left. Okay. Really quick, we'll do some call outs for the leaderboard. I'll let Hannah shout y'all out. 3 days left is still anybody's game. Okay. And Latoya, if she's here, Latoya will close you out for the boots, okay, as you go out. But take it away, Hannah.
All right, y'all. So let me refresh because a lot happened in the past 10 minutes with the Q&A. Y'all are killing it when it comes to the points. But I'll be really quick. I'll do top 5. So in 5th place, we have Amber right now with 3,670 points. Amber Heard. And then there's a huge jump, not going to lie. Christina King in 4th place with 5,515 points. Then we have Alexis Miller with 5,905 points in 3rd place. In 2nd place, we have Dana Stansel with 5,975 points. And y'all, in 1st place right now with 7,050 points, we have China Bailey. So,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
China is playing with y'all.
She's not playing the games, y'all. She's going for that podium, okay?
Dang, she snuck up with it, didn't she?
Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Thank you, Hannah. And as a reminder, everybody get used to these faces, okay? Hi, I'm Casey, co-founder and CEO. Hannah.
Co-founder. Co-founder and coming in the chief operating officer.
Toya.
And I am Latoya Dixon Smith, co-founder and head of product. And I want y'all to check out my shirt. It says Defend Black Womanhood because that's what we're about up in here. But I won't hold y'all because now that you have been fed and nourished by all of our speakers today for day 2, it is time to go sow some seeds and to shop with our vendors in the Buy Black market. So make sure that you don't just run out of here real quick. Go ahead and step up over in the booth to shop with our vendors. Check out what they have to offer because I have seen a lot of dope stuff that I haven't seen before. So go check them out. And I see a lot of faces, names that I've seen in the chat who are also vendors in that market. So they've been in here getting fed as well. So it'll be great for y'all to go check them out and to support and patronize. Like that's what it's all about.
That's right. Ashe. All right, y'all. We love you so much. Thank you for rocking with us on day 2. Day 2 is officially over in terms of the sessions and take up space in the booths. They do not end 24/7. Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.